Welcome to Dad Bods and Dumbbells. My name is Mitch and this is Bart. We have an amazing episode today. But first, I want to start by thanking Iron Neck for allowing us to use their studio for this episode. It's an amazing product, and today we have a 15% off code for you in the description to give it a try. Also, Big Boys Run 2 merch is available. If you're a big guy, small guy, medium guy, or a girl wanting to wear it ironically, check out bigboysrun2too.com and use the code BIGBOY for 15% off your first purchase. All right, so this episode is an interview with a Texas football legend known as the oldest rookie. He's a former Green Beret, Texas walk-on turned long snapper, actor, director, founder of a nonprofit called MVP, merging vets and players, Leadville 100 finisher in under 25 hours. Let's welcome Nate Boyer. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share to wherever you watch or listen to podcasts, and enjoy this episode. All right, welcome Nate Boyer to Dad Bods and Dumbbells. Nate, thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you. Are you saying I have a dad bod?
No, that's the thing. It's a little misconcerning. Bart's the dumbbell, as we like to call him, and I am the dad bod. Yeah. So what we like to talk about typically is, fitness from the perspective of the average American male, me. So people feel better
generally
about themselves through the process.
The dad time where you be a dad, like the 30s, 40s, where you're like kind of life's getting a little harder to keep that perfect physique. You've got to be kind of a little bit smarter.
That's
about
why
how
I
you
look the
work
way
out.
I do. I had the perfect physique, and then this is what happens when you turn 40. So what the perspective for us has always been, man, there's not much out there that talks about what do you do when you're an average athlete? Or what do you do when you're just trying to figure out, is it time to take TRT? Is it time to not? Stuff like that. We don't need to go into that, but we talk a lot about steroids. We do a segment called Natty or Not, and I'll bring up people and see if they're natty. Bart can tell me because he's in the fitness world.
I can look at people's traps and know right away. Traps and side
Hey, what about
you
me?
can tell you're good.
Yeah,
you're good.
I'm natty.
You're
Dude,
very
you're
natty.
natty.
I don't know if that's a compliment, dude.
No,
you're
strong.
super
You're
natural.
very natty.
No question.
No, like
you
some
could
people
almost,
were
it's
just
like
like
almost
their,
like you
their
don't
traps
work out.
touch their ears, and you're like,
Okay.
Maybe Shannon Sharp's the only one with gigantic traps that could be natty.
No, he's not natty.
The rumor is he is, but anyway, we digress. Let's focus.
So I had a buddy in high school.
We brought Nate Boyer in to find out if he's natty.
I know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nate, for being here.
This is the one
Natty
that Bart gives me signals with his eyes when he's tired of me talking. But I have something to say about steroids.
Perfect.
My buddy, actually, his name was, we called him Bart because he looked like Bart Simpson. My buddy Brandon Garner, we wrestled together in high school.
All right.
And he was always like freaking ripped. And now as you talk about it, he had the traps, the big old traps. And he was not a huge dude. He was he wrestled 145. But in the off season, he gets so jacked, so jacked. And I was always wondering, how is he getting jacked? And I'm doing, I worked out with him. So we'd box together, we'd lift together, and I'd do the same exact stuff he would do. But he was always just so freaking tried out. So natty or not?
I don't know your friend.
Brandon Garner?
I'm not willing to go on record.
Brandon Garner?
About a guy in high school.
You are nah. I love you, buddy.
All right.
So back to Nate Boyer. Nate Boyer, you are a former Green Beret. Are you ever a former Green Beret, or is it more just one of those things that
I don't know. I mean, I think the Marines are a little more of a stickler on that. They don't like being called former Marines.
Yeah.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Special Forces community, I mean, sure. I don't know. I still earned it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what former, as long as you don't say X. X sounds like you're
Yeah.
divorced. You know what I mean?
Dishonorably
you guys
discharged.
split, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't go so hot. So.
It's like winning a gold medal. You're always a gold medal winner. You're not a former gold medal winner.
Yeah.
You're no longer
bro.
fast enough.
So Green Beret, Nate
Yeah.
Boyer, who decided, without taking a snap of football ever in your life, decided to walk on at Texas.
Or at least try to.
Try to.
Yeah.
So what was that process like? Why, first of all, why Texas? Second of all, why long snapper? Walk me through that process going from being an active duty military special forces guy and going, you know what? I'm going to go play football at Texas.
Well, football was always my favorite sport growing up. I grew up in the Bay Area. And when I was a kid, the 49ers were the team. I mean, the dynasty from the year I was born till I was 13, they won 5 Super Bowls. So I loved football. I loved watching football. But I started playing soccer and then baseball and then basketball. And I was kind of a late bloomer and I just never played. And then as I got towards high school, it was well, I'm so like deep in these other sports, and what if I, ride the bench or get cut? Like, I don't want to, just kind of that fear. So I just didn't do it. And then the high school I ended up graduating from didn't even have a team. So like all these things kept happening and I never played, and it bothered me. So I was 28, turning 29 on active duty in Iraq, actually, and made the decision that I was finally ready to go to college. And wherever I went, I was just going to try out for the football team, and that ended up being Texas.
Dang.
I loved Austin. It's obviously it's a great team, great programming, a really good team now. But just the legacy of the University of Texas Longhorn football, and I just was I was in Iraq, and I started training. Like, I started running routes and Googling, how to play football. Essentially, I didn't know I was gonna be a long snapper. I didn't even know what a long snapper was.
Yeah. You were just going to try to make the team in any capacity.
Yeah.
Right?
Long snapper was not on my radar. I just assumed it was the center, and he just snapped it longer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what long snapper was. I didn't know there was a guy that did that.
So, I mean, that's such a cool story, but also unique, probably, that the Texas, coaching staff saw something in you. I mean, most people would probably see no experience, and not even give you the time of day, right? So what was it about you and the Texas, football kind of brass that allowed them to say, oh, you know what? There's something about you. There's something about his work ethic, something that they decided to bring you on. It's almost a Rudy type situation. He hates it.
I hate the movie.
Yeah, he's not a big fan of Rudy. So
I lived in South Bend during that time. So
gotcha.
He's a little jaded about.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's an older episode. Sorry.
So is there something unique that you and the coaching staff kind of connected on that allowed that to happen?
Well, first of all, Mac Brown was coach at the time. Mac had just gone on a USO tour over to Iraq and Afghanistan. I didn't meet him when he was doing that, because I think he was there a little before I was there. But so I mean, and it's Texas, they support their veterans, and they're big about that kind of stuff. But I think more than any of that, look, they'd come close to winning the national championship a year before, lost to Alabama, the game that Colt McCoy got hurt.
Oh yeah.
And then it's 5-7 season and trying to rebuild everything. And I think they saw somebody that would be like a leadership voice in the locker room, and someone that probably would never play, but would show up and work hard in practice, and maybe give a little speech here and there. And when people are complaining about training, I think that's what they assumed the role I would play, and it wouldn't have been a bad thing to do, but I wanted to play. I was trying to find a way on the field. So first step was just make the team, though, get a locker, get in the locker room, and so that happened, and then it was all right, try for safety. Well, not fast enough, not good enough. Not keeping up with those receivers, not going to happen. Yeah. So
how long did it take you to figure that out?
I mean, that was the first season was doing that.
Okay.
And just for reference point, you're 43?
I'm 43 now.
So this is 14 years ago?
I was 29.
29. Okay.
29 my freshman year.
So, okay. Colt McCoy, I'm just trying to put the...
Yeah, Colt had just left,
So
the year
before.
11. Yeah, exactly. 11 to 14 is when I played. Yeah.
Okay.
So I came here in 10, but 11 to 14 years I played. So special teams was the next thing, and so I was trying to get on kickoff team and pump block team and whatever to try and play, and I got up to backup, but wasn't breaking into the starting, one of the starting positions, and I got to run down on kickoff when we played Texas Tech, and it was awesome. Yeah, but I was all right, I need to find something consistent and something that maybe only I can do, not only I can do, but something that suits me better. And long snapping is a very thankless job. The starter that year was graduating, and so was the backup. They were both seniors. So I just started messing with that. Yeah. I went back to YouTube and Google and was learning about the grip and the stance. And I also talked to the two long snappers that were there, and they kind of gave me a couple little pointers, and then off I went. And during bowl practices that year, I was snapping for the scout team during first team reps of pump block or whatever. Yeah. And then when I deployed that summer, I was in the military still. I was in the National Guard. So when I went overseas that year to Afghanistan, I brought a couple balls with me and just practiced long snapping every day, and came back and won the job.
That's
That was
awesome.
it, yeah.
So
It's
you,
cool.
okay, pause. You just mentioned something, but it's actually kind of crazy. You were on the team as a walk-on, and then you went to Afghanistan during the summer to be active duty military.
Yeah, I did that the summer before my junior and senior year, I went to Afghanistan. Actually, before my sophomore year, I went to Bulgaria and Greece, like training missions with their special operations. But yeah, I was still in the Guard. And I mean, the first summer I was out of the military and here, I got bored, man. I wasn't in, there was nothing going on. I got a job at the Blind Pig down the street.
Mhm.
Was,
Wow.
friggin' bouncing for like a month. And then, that was kind of it. And I just, when summer hits here, you got summer workouts, but there's not a ton going on, and it's humid, and it's a nice dry heat over in Afghanistan.
How's the transition going from being on the front lines, active duty military, to transitioning into a locker room with 18, 19, 20-year-olds that just partied all summer? What is that like? What is that? Is there any disillusionment, disconnection? Like,
I mean, there's
like?
definitely an age gap, but a place like Texas, most of the, I don't want to say kids because they're young men in the locker room are more mature than people give them credit for. Like, they make stupid decisions. They do 18, 19-year-old things, of course.
Right. Yeah.
But it's hard to be a student athlete at that level. So it's essentially a full-time job doing the football thing alone, not to mention you're going to school, being a student. So there's a lot of responsibility with that. Not that they don't party hard. Of course we do. And I went to those parties too. I had no shame.
You're 30. You're 30.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
You crushed.
Yeah. Once in a while, you'd get how old are you? You're like,
who are you here with?
You're like,
I'm the only one
that's
that's probably legal here from a drinking standpoint. Not
the other way.
Not the other way.
Got it.
But anyway, but I had a great time, and you have a lot more in common than you realize. And in the military, it's similar. It's a little bit different in special forces, like coming in at 24 years old into the special forces. I was one of the young guys, but still you meet and are around people that are quite young. The average infantryman probably comes in at 19. So it's very similar in that way.
I get it.
That makes sense. How mature are we at the end of the day?
Absolutely.
Like,
I got married at 23, and I'm like, how would anybody let me do that?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, this is a dad perspective, but just reading up on your bio, you went to LA to pursue acting before military. Is it correct? Early, like 18 to 21 or so.
When I was 18, I moved to San Diego and worked on a fishing boat for like a year, and then at 19, I was like, I'm gonna go try this thing.
But
that's when
I think it's easy for parents, fathers specifically, like to want to see our sons or daughters like follow some course that like might kind of guarantee their success, right? And I always love seeing people who found success in their own unique way, whether it was just following your heart, following whatever you were interested in, whether it's football at 29 or Green Berets or Hollywood or working on a fishing boat, and that somehow full circle, that those moments created the person that is doing what you're doing today, and having that purpose and that focus and that I think that's one of the things. Do you remember any things that you learned from you in childhood, maybe from your dad or from like somebody who was a real mentor to you that helped you have that courage to kind of follow your path?
Well, both my parents were really hardworking people. I mean, they're smart, but a lot of it they sort of earned and worked for, if that makes sense. I mean, I'd say my dad wouldn't agree.
Grew up in Pleasanton, right?
No, I grew up in El Cerrito. I lived in Pleasanton in high school years.
Okay,
yeah.
very good. I'm from Davis, California. So
I are? Okay. Yeah. A lot of horse stuff out there. My dad was a racehorse veterinarian. Okay. So he retired literally the day before lockdown, which is kind of wild. Like that was the plan. Isn't that random?
That's crazy.
Wow. But yeah, both my parents were very hardworking, very smart. My mom got her PhD from Cal Berkeley in environmental science. One of the first women in her program. My dad, got his veterinary degree, University of Tennessee, which is where I was born, out in Knoxville. And they just, they worked long hours. I mean, my mom spent, a lot of time helping raise us as well. Not that my dad wasn't, but my dad he left for work at 5 a.m. and got home at 7 days a week. Like, that's just how it was, and he would take time when he could go to ball games and go to whatever we had going on. Like he was there for us, no question, but he just worked really hard. So I think being around that, you know, when you're a kid, you sort of rebel and you don't want to do those things. And so I didn't do very well in school, and there was a lot of expectation on, you know, from an educational side, and I just didn't take it seriously. And I think that was the rebellious part, but I still was probably absorbing all of this, you know, and kind of learning from them. So it's kind of I wanted to, I didn't have to, but I wanted to just do it my way, you know? And so that meant not going to college right away and doing this other stuff. And I think those 4 years before I joined the military, really, I think they were necessary. As much as I often feel like I wasted my time, I wasted 4 years kind of just doing random stuff. I also look back on it and, you know, I was dirt poor. I was broke. I lived in my car for quite a while, multiple times. And it was just like, but that gave me this like appreciation for, you know, little things and being okay with like austere environments and not having an issue with things being uncomfortable and all. Like I kind of like that stuff, you know? And so that led to this openness and willingness to go into this, you know, the special forces, understanding that it's not always going to be, it's not like Call of Duty, you know, it's very different. It sucks. Most of it sucks. Yeah. It's really hard. But there's a lot of value in it, and it's a worthwhile experience. And you know, you have a sense of purpose and all these other things. But I think a lot of people, because there was a lot of guys that went through the course with us, didn't make it, you know, that were like going into basic training, like, oh, I can't wait to make it through, get my Green Beret, I'm gonna go be Delta Force and blah, blah, blah. And then 3 weeks in, they're just like, oh, this is really hard. It sucks. You know, oh, I have shin splints. I'm getting out of the military, pissing the bed on purpose. Like it's crazy, but it's just like, well,
it's
you
like
haven't
the shit we talk, and then like the real version of ourselves that shows up when everything gets hard.
It's just, they hadn't, you know, a lot of those people were fresh out of high school or college and kind of hadn't, they were still probably just living off the parents, and they didn't understand like that, you know, there's going off on your own, as much as scary as it is and as hard as it is, you know, you're working multiple jobs and living in a place like Southern California, it's expensive, and it's just it is what it is. But that's, if you want to do that, that's what it takes. There is a lot of value in those things. So I'm a big proponent when people are talking about, oh, I might do a gap year. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Like, I'm not, no problem with that, but don't just travel on mommy and daddy's money. That's not a gap year. Yeah. That's like work, do something hard, you know?
Go learn a language.
That's cool. Well, I like that. And so you have had the kind of that parental, hey, hard work pays off. You know, we're going to be close as a family. You go to Texas, you're in the military, you go to Texas, you graduate, then you go into like, as a Nate Boyer, hey, I got my degree, I'm good. Where do you go next? And what is that thought process to get you to become what they refer to as the oldest rookie? Like, where does that, how did that come about?
Well, yeah, I mean, I assumed when college ended, you know, I assumed that was done football wise. I was 33, almost 34. And you know, I mean, yeah, you're a long snapper, so you don't have to be the best athlete in the world, but I was still small. I was new to the game, new to the position. But I got invited to play in this senior all-star game in Charleston called the Medal of Honor Bowl. And they played at the Citadel, you know, and there's every year there's about 3 all-star games. And there's the big one now is the Reese's Senior Bowl. Used to be East-West Shrine Game, and that's still one of the big ones. And then they had a couple of others, and one of them was this one. And like, hey, do you want to be a long snapper for one of the teams? And I was like, yeah, of course, that'd be awesome. So I go down there, and it turns out there's a bunch of NFL scouts that come to all the practices and just watch the players. And then they sit down and have meetings with them, and they're like evaluating talent. And most of the guys in this game were middle rounders. So it wasn't the first round, second round guys. Those were, I think pretty much all of them were like in the Reese's Senior Bowl. That's sort of the top game. But anyway, it was a cool experience, and I had like 4 or 5 teams sit down with me and
really
like they wanted to have meetings, and
that's cool.
Like expressed interests, and I was like, okay. They're like, all of them said you need to put weight on, because I was in college. I was bigger than I am now, but not much. I played at about probably 190, 195, you know, and they were all like, oh no, you got to be like 225. So
and you're snapping the ball and immediately getting hit by the defense.
Yeah,
right?
and the difference in college is you can do the spread punt. So like we have a shield, like a 3-man shield behind the line of scrimmage. So what they'll basically do is guys will line up, 5-6 feet apart.
Right.
And then as a snapper, you don't have a blocking responsibility typically because you have the shield. So I'd snap it. Someone shooting through the gap, I just, hit them and then just run downfield. And I'm like a third gunner trying to go. Honestly, instead of make a tackle, what I'm really trying to do is get their hand up and create a fair catch because I'm gonna get juked. You know what I mean? It's just a reality. So I'm just running as hard as I can, right at right at the
just scare them enough,
right between the numbers. I'm just like, call fair catch. Come on, man, don't make me try. I got one good solo tackle in the UCLA game, and the reason it happened was the punt was bombed, and he caught it and started running one way, and then it was like getting collapsed. So he stopped and turned back the other way. And right when he turned back around, I was right there. I just hit him perfectly. And
I want to know before you go into actually how you became the oldest rookie. What was like the worst time where you failed at your job when you were long snapper? Like, was there a moment where you just biffed it or something happened where you're like humiliated type thing?
No, luckily. I never, jacked one over the punter's head or dribbled one back there or anything like that. I had a few, I guess, snaps over my career that weren't perfect for sure. Like where, the punter had to maybe jump a little bit or, it was just up, down at his shins or something like that. Or on a field goal. My worst snap ever was probably the very first field goal snap that I ever had. Because I was nervous, everyone's like, how are you nervous? Even Coach Brown, when I came on the sideline, like grabbed my helmet and he's like, you've been shot at. What are you, how are you nervous? Or come on, man. And I was just like, well, there's 100,000 people watching in the stands, not to mention TV. And I don't know. Later, I would kind of sort of learn how to harness the nerves, But that first one, it was just like, freaking wobbly and not great. But after that, I just was like, dude, just let it rip. And stop worrying about it.
That's cool.
So, but yeah, so after the Medal of Honor Bowl, I came out to LA and I was like, all right, well, the draft is in May. This is January. I had to finish my master's degree anyway by doing an internship. So I did an internship at Film 44, which is Peter Berg's production company.
Oh yeah. Cool.
So Pete did like Friday Night Lights, Lone Survivor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's big time.
And so I was doing that internship, and then I was training at Unbreakable, which was Jay Glazer's gym at the time.
And that's how you met Jay.
And that's how I met Jay.
Wow.
So I started training there, and I put on 30 pounds in 4 months, and not all of it was good weight.
Natty or not?
It was natty. But it was nasty also. You've seen the pictures.
You looked a little puffy.
In that situation, weight is weight, right? You just got to get bigger.
I did. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and have like peanut butter and banana sandwich with a muscle milk. And just house it. It's so gross, dude.
Just leave a gallon of ice cream to melt.
Of calories. I tried to eat relatively healthy. Like I would like the smoothies I would make were insane. They're like 40 ounces and there's just so much calories in it, but it's mostly good. Yeah. Like whole avocado and like all this other tons of protein and a lot of milk though too. Yeah. Which I don't know if that's good for you or not. Whatever. It's before the whole like everybody's lactose intolerant now. And this was back then. It's just like
no such thing back then.
No.
It's not that long ago.
I was 34. Okay. 34 when this was all going down. So anyway, I put the weight on, draft rolls around. I know I'm not going to get drafted or assume I'm not going to get drafted. Although I did have Arizona called and they had the last pick in the draft.
Ooh, Mr. Irrelevant.
And so I was on the list as maybe, and then it didn't happen. But right after that, I got a call from the Rams and the Seahawks almost simultaneously. And, at the time the Rams were in St. Louis and they were not good. They were like 4-12. Yeah. The year before, and the Seahawks they'd been to back-to-back Super Bowls and won one of them, and and Pete called me, So I was like the Pete, Coach Carroll.
That's crazy.
So I was like, all right. I mean, come on. But also, it was just like I know the reality and the odds are not good that I'm gonna make the final roster. So it's like as long as this lasts, it would make more sense to just go big here. I mean, you did it at Texas. Like, why would you not do this? So,
Yeah.
So you actually had to choose between.
I had like
who
30
you-
minutes to pick. Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So I
Pete-
called my
Pete
dad.
made it easy.
I called like people. and-
like West Coast.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if the Rams were in LA at the time since I was living out there,
Yeah.
it might have made more sense
Sure.
just for that.
Yeah.
But also they're maybe not this year, but they've been better since. But back in
Sure.
2015, they were not good.
Yeah.
And the Seahawks were really good.
Yeah,
they were like
they were the
they
it
were
team.
the it team. Exactly.
Legion
So-
of Boom. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like Marshawn, Richard Sherman, Michael Bennett, Bobby Wagner, Doug Baldwin, Russell Wilson, Jimmy Graham just got signed as a tight end. Like
Jimmy Graham.
they had a squad. Man.
Wow.
It was cool.
Jimmy Graham.
Tyler Lockett and I, he's
Yeah.
still
dude.
playing. We were rookies together.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
That's fun.
it's cool.
So how long because I watched a documentary before I knew you. I saw it coming out live. It was on ESPN talking about this veteran who's trying out for the Seahawks
Like
as the oldest rookie.
like a Sports Center feature.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
almost like outside the line.
Like
I
a
was like,
30
I remember
There's a
this.
documentary. I don't know that.
Yeah. It was like,
Someone's
And I
making
remember
millions
that
out of your story.
story.
I've heard of it.
I remember that story of this oldest rookie trying out for long snapper. And that was
Right.
you.
Yeah, that was
That's
me.
cool.
That was me. Yeah, so it was. I didn't know. I know I'd signed as an undrafted free agent. So there's a difference between that and just getting an invite to rookie minicamp. An
Mhm.
invite to rookie minicamp. I mean, they invite 60, 70 people to come out to that,
Mhm.
and they might sign 2 or 3
Mhm.
or none. And so it was different to sign as an undrafted
Yeah.
free agent because that meant I would still go to rookie minicamp. I was a rookie,
Mhm.
but I already had, a locker.
You're an
at least.
NFL player.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at
at
least
that
for
point.
a period of time.
Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah, that was
So
cool.
that's the difference. I always
That's the
wondered
difference.
that.
Yeah,
Did
because they got a lot.
Did you get a
of-
sign-on bonus?
I did.
What'd you get?
It was in the mid 4 figures, low
Really?
to mid 4 figures.
Hey, I
which is
just frame
nothing.
that check. Man. Just frame it.
no.
don't even
I
cash
deposited
it.
the hell out of that. Dude. Come on.
That's cool.
But no, it was. It was cool. It was cool to
So
see.
did you have a moment of after that? So I'm trying to kind of paint a picture to get us to where you're at today,
Yeah,
which is,
all over the place.
all over the place. I mean, you got a ton of stuff
Physically,
going on.
mentally.
You got a lot of good stuff going on, but you're an actor, director, you're co-founder of a nonprofit that's hugely successful. Like, how do you go from not making the team eventually to now here you are sitting in front of like a pretty decent sized future and, being the leader in these different categories? It's pretty cool. But how do you get to that point?
I think you just. I don't know. You just do it.
Just keep grinding.
You just keep.
working
Yeah, you
every
just
day.
you have to you have to sacrifice. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. You have to show up. You have to work. You have to try things. You can't be too afraid of failure. Like, of course we all are. Like, I don't want to fail. I don't want to lose, but like, I also don't want to regret not trying.
Mhm.
And that's more of a regret than losing. I mean, because eventually we all get cut at some point or it ends. Even the greats in sports, for example, very few of them ended it on their own terms.
Right.
Even like, hate to say it, but even like, Peyton Manning, who won a Super Bowl and retired right after, he had like the lowest QBR in Super Bowl history and won that game. So it's like, that's cool, but I guarantee if you talk to him offline, he'd be like, yeah, I wish I'd played a little better in my last game. There's just,
even like
it's
coming,
just- it is.
I mean, being in the Bay Area, Montana and Steve Young, that whole who do you start? Because
Yeah,
Montana
it's a
got
tough one.
injured, Steve Young just came out at like second string and just dominated, and you're like, do we put Montana back? I mean, it's just Father Time's always always going to win.
I mean,
that
if
one.
you look at it in the in the Longhorn terms right now with like Arch and Quinn, it's different because this is Quinn's senior year,
Right.
and we all know Arch is the guy next year. But when it's a professional team and it's like both these guys are signed on multi-year deals, like what do we do here? Because it's tough because at this point, that's a similar, I'm sure, internal conversation they're maybe having over here at Texas.
Yeah,
Like, who knows?
definitely.
But
what I keep seeing, with you is service, like serving others. There's even, in your bio going over to Darfur, like being involved in that. And it just seems like a lot of choices you're making aren't just a selfish choice of like me, but like serving. How can I serve? How can I do things that support veterans? So has that always been, or is that something that you really figured out, in the course of your, like this latter half of your life?
Freaking bar.
Latter half of your life that you've kind of ridden that idea of like, if I serve others, things go.
Yeah, I think there's, while at the same time, following your passions, chasing down your American dreams, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said this once, and I try to live by it at least somewhat, but do what you love to fight what you hate. And there's a lot of things that, there are a lot of problems that need fixing and a lot of people that need help. But if it's not serving you in the sense of that fulfillment, or something you're passionate about, or something you're excited about, it's tough. It's tough to stay motivated, even when it's, so there is a selfish element to it at some level. Like I loved playing football. I loved serving in the military. We got to do some cool shit, it was crazy. I love making movies, it's super challenging. It's fun, but I want to tell stories that do make a difference, that do help people, that do, change the world in some way, or at least try to. So yeah, I mean, there's no reason you shouldn't do that. You should do those things and not feel guilty about it. Just make sure it's in service to the greater good. I think that's the key there for me. And then with that, you don't get so hung up on the result because you're doing something good in the process. I think too many people are worried about what other people are going to think, or looking stupid, or whatever. And they just limit themselves, or they don't fully commit and go for it because they just, they're just worried about things that don't matter. At the end of the day, we're all dead at some point, and that's it.
That's a good word.
Whatever.
Man. That's a good word. So tell us a little bit about what your current projects. What is Nate Boyer looking like present day?
Yeah. So, I mean, as you mentioned, the nonprofit MVP, Merging Vets and Players. We bring together combat vets, former pro athletes. We help them find purpose and identity when they lose a uniform. That does take a lot of time and energy, and I love it. But something really cool that I got to do within that was direct my first movie, and that movie's called MVP. And so if you haven't seen MVP, please do. It's a great movie. We're actually screening it.
How do they see it?
There's it's on streaming. You can find it on Paramount Plus, Prime, Apple TV. It's all over the place. But we are doing. It'll be in the Round Top Film Festival in November, Veterans Week, which is awesome. So if you're in the Central Texas area or Houston, it's like halfway between Houston and Austin. Come out to the Round Top Film Festival.
It's fun.
It's going to be cool. Cool. We're actually screening it here. I'm not sure when this airs exactly, but it may be the day this airs on Thursday the 17th. Yeah, 17th.
Oh no, it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Sorry, tomorrow night. Maybe this doesn't air.
So
time.
That's okay. You'll have missed it.
But you'll have missed it. Yeah. Up at the Austin Film Society.
Very cool.
And then so doing that. But now I'm in the middle of directing a D-Day documentary. It's a 80th anniversary. We're these guys that are 98 to 105 years old telling their story one last time in their own words, like straight to camera.
How many are left? There's got to be like
World War II vets. There's more than you think. There's like 80 to 90,000.
Okay.
But when you consider that 16 million fought in World War II, it's not that many.
Yeah.
It's like 0.5% or less.
Yeah.
D-Day, I don't know the numbers. They're hard to find. We've talked to about a dozen of them, and I know there's more, but there's just not that many. But some of the stories we found are pretty cool. A lot of them had never told their story really, and so we're excited about that. And
awesome.
We're almost done shooting that. And then, beyond that, launching a meat company.
Yeah.
What's that called?
It's called 8 Primal.
Okay.
There's 8 primal cuts on a cow, cuts of beef. So that's where the name comes
Mitch,
from.
Can you name all 8?
They all taste good, is what I know.
Yeah.
They all taste good.
It's not 8
ribeye.
ATE. It's EIGHT.
Yeah. That's great. Have you been sued yet?
No.
By 8 beer? The Troy Aikman.
Why would they sue us? It's completely different.
8,
they don't own the number 8.
Lamar Jackson's trying to do that.
To own the number 8?
Yeah.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is, dude.
There's more to it. I guarantee it's a universal number. The Chinese would have already done that because it's their luckiest number. So if it was even possible.
Okay. 8 Primal. Give us a little
But it's so the meat, first of all, is local. It's from it's out in Weimar, Texas, near Columbus.
Okay.
Family owned ranch, and so pretty cool. They've been doing it for a long time, but the beef is born there, bred there, and then butchered and packaged and shipped all from one spot, which is other companies don't do this. A lot of it comes from other countries.
Yeah.
They don't really, they're not super transparent about it,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be either if I was doing that, but ours
Well,
is.
if it's from New Zealand, it has to be the best cow ever.
Well, I'm sure it is.
No,
it's coming along.
But it's a lot of people just want that, like, oh, New Zealand beef, or it's just there's some connotation that, like, if the beef, it must be like roaming these beautiful green pastures.
I mean, maybe it is.
I mean, stacked in a barn.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know. I just like the idea of
the
everyone
local
claims they love to, buy American.
Yeah.
And this is a veteran-owned meat company,
That's great.
and so we're going to be supporting MVP as well.
That's great.
Which is
awesome.
really cool. Portion of the proceeds in every purchase.
Is it a website we go to? They order. Is it all just delivered through it's all online?
Exactly. It's
Fantastic.
it's subscription. Right now we're doing all curated boxes. You can do beef, pork, or a mix.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, it's and it's competitively priced considering it's all from here.
Yeah.
Compared to the other big ones, and you just know exactly where it's coming from, and you're supporting a good cause. And honestly, the meat's really good. I'm gonna send you some. So
That'd be great.
yeah, you'll be able to check it out, man.
that.
But it is awesome. It is
very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, 8primal.com is a website, and at 8primal, the number 8.
Great.
On our socials. So we're literally launching today. So it's
Hey,
kinda cool.
congratulations.
Yeah.
We'll put it in our link in the description so people can go check it out.
Yeah. Well, I got a final question, and this was not written down. You and I, let's be clear, did not dance together, but we danced Dancing with the Stars, Austin, a big nonprofit for Center for Child Protection, which is an amazing nonprofit.
Yep.
And they do a big gala at the end of the year. And I was selected, Nate was selected. I don't know if that was either of our crowning moments on stage.
How did you do? Are you a dancer?
Tell me about that experience for you. I don't need.
I am now.
Do you remember it?
Oh yeah. Do you remember what song I danced to?
I don't. I just remember you were like the only one who wasn't like
prepared?
Networking in the room. No. You had just flown. I remember like people like whisper, oh, that's Nate Boyer, right? And like you came in, you looked nervous and just like reserved, and everyone else was kind of networking and doing what, like people do when they're in a really hot moment of their like, lives that they think is a big deal. And you were just real like zen and just like probably trying to remember the steps or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
But that's all I remember.
I was so unprepared.
And then
I wasn't even living here. I was living in LA.
Yeah. So how did you get dragged into that? And then tell
There were
me
like
that.
Zoom practices.
Oh my God.
We had a couple in person. She was great. I can't think of her name, but
all the dancers are fantastic.
Yeah,
they
the
always
woman that
make you
danced
look
with me
good too.
She was killer.
Yeah.
But I selected I Would Do Anything for Love by Meatloaf.
Nice.
I had a cape.
So good.
And then like a sleeveless Meatloaf shirt underneath.
That's
you know what I mean? It was pretty good.
So you ripped open your shirt at
the cape just came off. And then it was just a sleeveless, sleeveless tee.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
It was cool. Yeah. I never broke. I
dance?
never smiled, which I loved. I was like, dude, just take
Is
make
there
the
any
face.
video proof of this?
There is.
It's somewhere. It's out there. It's
Go
probably
find
that's a crazy thing about how. I mean, this was 8 years ago, 7 years ago, not that long.
2016.
Yeah, not that long ago, but you're not going to find anything that looks as good as like the phones now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it'll look like it's from the 90s.
Yeah.
Like the grainy footage. You're like, wow. But no, it was awesome. It was a really good time.
Did you win?
No.
Who won?
No.
No, I want to say it was like a gynecologist or like there was a young Hispanic doctor. Who was really
he was good.
He
did a Bruno
thing.
Mars
song.
And
he crushed it. He killed it, and he clearly had a lot of people out in the audience.
Yeah,
a
lot of young ladies were cheering him on.
Yeah,
he stacked the ballot. Yeah,
I also definitely she was so good you never know, but I missed several moments. Like afterwards, I was like, what all did I forget? She's like this, that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
I first just learned to 2-step. This is the first. My wife took me to these lessons. She's like, "I want a 2-step."
Do you go to Little Longhorn Saloon?
No, I didn't.
I think it's Tuesday nights. It's free 2-stepping classes.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, we went to Mercer Street, which is in Dripping, where we live.
Okay.
And so they do free Friday nights.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
And I learned how to 2-step. I am a terrible dancer.
Oh, I'm not shocked.
How? I thought you were gonna say I'm shocked.
No,
I am not good.
No, not surprised.
The biggest thing that I could think
Mitch
of
can barely run, much less dance.
Big boys can't dance too.
That's his other brand.
That's awesome. Yeah, big boys can't dance. Man, it's so good having you, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many more things we could cover, talk about. You got amazing things going on. What you've done to put others first, but in the meantime, like still make a living, which is incredible. It's been an honor to get to know you and become a friend. And thanks for taking the time for us today.
Yeah, man. Of course. We'll come back. We'll dig deeper.
We'll go deeper.
Yeah.
I want to get your soul.
dive.
I want to go deeper into your soul.
Soul
baby.
talk. We'll do a soul talk session.
Well, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for listening to Dad Bods and Dumbbells. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, give Nate some love. We'll put his socials and 8 Primal on our description below. Check it out. Thanks so much.
Thank you.